Have you seen the products called Seventh Generation on the grocery store shelves? I'm not sponsoring them for a kickback, but I would like to talk about where the name came from. You see, the term seventh generation was coined by the Iroquois for the principle of thinking ahead when making decisions. It asks us all to consider the impact of our lives and our actions on the people as far in the future as the seventh generation. As you can imagine, sustainability and healthy use of the land are at the core. Welcome to Calm in the Chaos, where thinking big thoughts that go beyond ourselves and our needs and wants are the general rule of behavior. Let's consider what this phrase seventh generation really means. If a generation is about 25 years, 7 generations ago would be the year 1850. 7 generations in the future is the year 2200. Now, somehow I can relate better to 1850 than I can to 2200. I have a lot of points of reference because of studying history. And in that retrospect, I see much turmoil, unrest, and uncertainty. In 1850, California was admitted to the Union as a free state, meaning that the state's constitution banned both slavery and slave trade within the state. Unrest? You bet. Now, adding this free state to the Union began the imbalance of free and slave states, causing a lot of political tension. New Mexico and Utah were trying to figure out how they felt about slavery. In 1850, the state of Texas had its border adjusted. Drawing new lines sounds familiar, doesn't it, for benefit of voting? Slave trading was abolished in Washington, D.C. in 1850, although owning slaves still continued. The fugitive slave law was amended to be stricter, now requiring federal agents to capture and return slaves to their owners. I hear not so subtle racist training of law enforcement policies beginning right there. Millard Fillmore in 1850 moved from the vice presidency into the White House when President Zachary Taylor died. And the first National Women's Rights Convention was held in Worcester, Massachusetts. I wonder if the white men and a few brave white women thought about the seventh generation following them. I wonder if they knew their actions would be worth more than one political term or one election. California being admitted as a free state from the get-go, and they have been known as progressive trendsetters ever since, well, that was a pretty big deal. Washington waffling on slavery, trying to play both sides, halting slave trade, but continuing to allow landowners to use and abuse the people of color. And then that Women's Rights Convention, how bold and courageous. Women couldn't vote. They had no power, as power is gauged by white men, but their forces did not go unnoticed. And here we are, ready to embark on an election this Tuesday. The first time we can make a big move in the politics of our nation since last November. Maybe you didn't read the massive document called Project 2025. Maybe you listened to too many rich white men who made millions of dollars by holding your rapt attention on television and podcasts. But by God, have you paid attention to the last 10 months of what is happening to our country? Were your neighbors depending on government help that just got banished? Were you stuck in an airport for days because federal employees aren't working? Have the prices of food in your grocery stores increased tremendously? And there you were, voting because the cost of eggs was going to go down. Now, you might be thinking that I'm being radical, but maybe it's the time to be radical. Now might be the time to admit to yourself that you were on the wrong side of history. Politics and our souls are greatly connected. How we choose to behave towards one another is at the basis of both politics and religion. So when you go to the polls this week, I urge you to consider that how we vote right now will impact our grandchildren and our great, 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 great grandchildren. 7 generations. I end today with a reading of words posted recently from Hopi Indian chief White Eagle. This moment humanity is experiencing can be seen as a door or a hole. The decision to fall in the hole or walk through the door is up to you. If you consume the news 24 hours a day with negative energy, constantly nervous, with pessimism, you will fall into this hole. But if you take this opportunity to look at yourself, to rethink life and death, to take care of yourself and others, then you will walk through the portal. Take care of your home, take care of your body. Connect with your spiritual home. When you take care of yourself, you take care of everyone at the same time. Do not underestimate the spiritual dimension of this crisis. Take the perspective of an eagle that sees everything from above with a broader view. There is a social question in this crisis, but also a spiritual question. The two go hand in hand. Without the social dimension, we fall into fanaticism. Without the spiritual dimension, we fall into pessimism and futility. Are you ready to face this crisis? Grab your toolbox and use all the tools at your disposal. Learn resistance from the example of Indian and African peoples. We have been and are exterminated, but we never stop singing, dancing, lighting a fire, and rejoicing. Don't feel guilty for feeling blessed in these troubled times. Being sad or angry doesn't help at all. Resistance is resistance through joy. You have the right to be strong and positive, and there's no other way to do it than to maintain a beautiful, happy, bright posture. It has nothing to do with alienation and ignorance of the world. It's a resistance strategy. When we cross the threshold, we have a new world view because we faced our fears and difficulties. This is all you can do now. Serenity in the storm. Keep calm, pray every day. Make a habit of meeting the sacred every day. Show resistance through art, joy, trust, and love. Blessings on all.